Welcome to OkState Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Joined by Coach Rainwater on a Monday, Tuesday, whenever you're watching this, or whatever day of the week it is. Coach, ugly football. Make it rain.
Yeah, not a whole lot to add to that. I mean, pretty ugly, pretty uninspiring, not very entertaining, just ugly from the word go. So, we talked a lot on the last podcast about how much, how vanilla were we against UT Martin and how much do we limit our playbook because we didn't want to show, plays, because I think OSU had an advantage, somewhat of an advantage going into the Oregon game and having an all new coaching staff, right? And that Oregon was going to have to game plan, not knowing exactly, what was going to be run with a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, and things like that. And that obviously didn't seem to matter. So, for whatever reason, I think that's where everybody's been since Saturday, and then will continue throughout this year is, I don't think anybody questions where the program is at, but everybody's going to have a different opinion on why it's that way, right? Is it because of NIL? Is it because of recruiting? Is it because of a whole new roster and a whole new coaching staff? Is it because of whatever reason somebody wants to come up with? So I don't think that there's any question of the state that OSU football is in right now. It's just, where do you point the finger and where does it lie at? Whose feet does it lie at, and what's the reasoning? Are we going to see some improvement or not? And so I don't know that there's anything that this last weekend would lead you to believe that, that there was any improvement. We talked a lot last week about complacency and showing improvement and, get better at something,
Like we did all last spring with the baseball team, and they showed that. Yeah. And I just don't think that you saw that this weekend, right? Now, I will say the two positives that I took out is that we actually threw it to Ford, right? Our tight end. That was nice. And there was times throughout the game. And he got 14 yards.
Yeah. There was times throughout the game that we were successful in the inside run game. That was nice, and which we, ironically enough, I think there was more tackles for loss in the run game against UT Martin than there was against Oregon, and so I think that was a positive. But other than that, it might as well been the Pro Bowl team against Guthrie JV. You know what I mean? That's what it looked like. And just completely outmanned, completely didn't belong on the same field, wasn't even playing the same game. You know what I mean? It was almost like big brother twin with little brother. And so pretty disappointing, and that I don't know that we showed any more of a playbook against Oregon than we did against UT Martin. So that's where we are right now as a program. Is we're going to be able to beat the UT Martins by 20 points or less, and we're going to struggle mightily against top 15, top 20 talent in the country. So I think that's probably what's disappointing to a lot of fans, and I haven't heard anybody say this, but I think this is kind of is that we're closer to an FCS program than we are a FBS program.
We're way closer to UT Martin than we are Oregon. Yeah.
I mean, we're not even, Montana State put up 13 points against Oregon and only gave up 45, right? I mean, Oregon beats Montana State 45-13. They beat us 69-3. We beat UT Martin, 20-7, and they get thumped like a stepchild by, UTEP. That's just who we are right now, and people can point fingers in whatever direction they feel like that that is intended, or the direction that they think that needs to receive it. But the fact of the matter is we do have a new roster. We do have an entire new coaching staff, which my opinion should mean that we should have better results than we did last year. Right? If you completely turn the thing over and you bring in your own guys that fit the new coaches' schemes, then you should have a better product. And you can throw. There's no doubt that NIL is not advantageous to OSU. Okay, but my comment to that is the old adage of you can bitch and leave, or you can stay and shut up. But the one thing you can't do is stay and bitch. So if we're going to remain in the Big 12, we're going to remain an FBS program and shut up and find a way to get it done.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
Otherwise, stop bitching, So anyway, that's, and I probably shouldn't use those words, but I did.
Oh, no, I use them all the time.
So,
it's
that's
YouTube, Coach. We're good.
Yeah. So, nobody's watching anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just, that's where I'm at with it is, right now the state of affairs is what it is, and that we more resemble an FCS team than we do an FBS team right now. And hopefully somewhere along the line, we can improve on that and look more like an FBS team. But, I think there's going to have to be some, it's kind of like we've talked about this a lot, Coach, and that, just entertain us. Right?
Yes.
Provide an entertainment. I mean, line up a ninja for crying out loud. Line up in swinging gate. Do something.
Yeah.
As opposed to line up in the same formation and run it right behind the guard. It's nauseating.
And then bitch that your offensive line's not, that kind of deal. Or blame that they loaded the box. The same crap we hear all over.
Or say that it was too complicated.
What the hell is that, man? That's what fires me up.
I ran the same plays with my son's first grade football team this Saturday.
It wasn't too complicated for them.
I mean, you know why Floors throws 2 pick sixes is because we run a freaking 5-yard route every time. We have no downfield passing game, right?
And they jump it. Yeah.
And they jump it. I mean, the same routes that we ran against Oregon are the same routes that my first and second grade football team can run on Saturdays.
Yes.
Run a 3-yard slant. Who can't run that?
Yeah.
How is that too complicated?
Yeah.
That makes no sense. What's complicated is when you got trips to one side and you run double slants and a stop and nobody's deeper than 7 yards from the line of scrimmage.
And now all the defense can just.
What's complicated about that is completing a pass.
Yes, right.
Because
you have the whole defense all in the same
everybody's
spot.
Right here.
Yeah, right.
Like who do you expect him to throw? Anyway, I'm getting fired up. But anyway,
that's great. Do it.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Coach, let loose. This is a podcast. Let loose.
Don't tell us how complicated your scheme is when you're running double slants and a stop.
Yeah, that's funny. That's what got you fired up. That's what got me fired up too. I mean, get the hell out of here. Don't piss down my leg and tell me it's raining.
Yeah. Now, if you want to say that the defensive scheme was too complicated and we got confused and we were out of position and we weren't fitting right and all that kind of stuff, okay, I can live with that. But maybe clarify that a little bit more.
Yes, right.
Don't just say that a generality is that the schemes were too complicated, because the offensive scheme was not too complicated.
Oh, no.
Right. But speaking on the defensive side, guys not fitting right, guys out of position, attacking inside shoulder when they should be attacking outside shoulder. I mean, basic 101 defense is outside hand free, and we're attacking with outside. I mean, it's not, we're attacking inside shoulder with outside shoulder. It's just, there was a lot of things you're thinking, my God, here we go again. Just simple technique things, and assignment and responsibility things that aren't being done well. And it's guys that have been playing college football for 2 or 3 years, right? I mean, and even if you haven't been playing college football for 2 or 3 years, you should have learned that in middle school and high school, right? So anyway, that's the frustrating part, not just from a fan standpoint, that it wasn't entertaining. We were completely outmatched. We're closer to an FCS team, obviously, than we are an FBS team. And then on the coaching side of it, the ex-coach in me is, the out of position, the technique issues, the responsibility issues. It wasn't very fun.
Nope, it wasn't. And so here's kind of a point too. We talk about all the different changes. We change coaches. We bring all these new players in. Your quarterback was here last year. Your offensive line is young. Okay, the 2 or 3 receivers you threw it to, Gavin Freeman, Josh Ford, they were here last year. Your quarterback was here last year. Your entire defensive line was here last year. Your entire secondary was all here last year. So who are these transfers that we're talking about, that all this brand new roster, and it's still the same guys that many of them didn't even play last year because they had people in front of them, but yet almost everybody who's getting action, your running backs, okay, Trent Howland and Rodney Fields Jr., they were here last year. So I keep hearing about this roster turnover. What roster turnover?
Yeah, where are they at?
Yeah, where are they at? I mean, where is the difference at here?
Yeah, and I think that's the part of the point I was making earlier on in the broadcast.
And then your offense looks the same. Your defense is still giving up the same big play. What is different?
Yeah, we can't cover. On defense,
can't tackle.
We can't stop.
We
can't stop run. We don't fit. Okay, missed tackles. That's on the defensive side.
Yeah.
Offensive side is, we have no downfield passing game, and going back to what I was saying earlier at the first of my rant was that people can point their finger in whichever direction that fits their agenda. This is why people are saying we can't recruit. I mean, you've got 65 new players, and literally, Coach, they could have put up 1,000 yards and 100 points if they wanted to. Saturday, Oregon could have.
They could have done whatever they wanted.
I mean, they had almost 500 yards in the first half. Mm-hmm. They could have done whatever they wanted. That fuels the fire and gives the evidence or the platform for people to say, see, we can't recruit.
Yeah. And if I want to defend Coach Gundy, which neither one of us have wanted Coach Gundy fired, okay, you can go back to the receipts. We have not. We don't necessarily like Coach Gundy. We don't like a lot of the things he does. We don't think it's necessarily beneficial for OSU. But the drawing the line part of it has always been removing Coach Gundy. We've never been on that bandwagon. So for people like us that we tend to think that we know at least a little bit about athletics, we've been in it our whole lives. Mm-hmm. How is he leaving us any way to defend him?
Yeah, I don't think he is. I don't think he is.
I mean, you see what I'm saying? I'd like to defend him.
I don't know that he was leaving any room for us to defend him last year.
Right.
It was that he finally did what we were hollering is you've got to make a change.
But did he? He went on, got buddies for coordinators. He got a bunch of kids in the transfer portal that were easy to recruit that are making no impact. So, yes, he went out and made changes, but he did it in a way that obviously was the easiest amount of time allotment for him because it's not even making an impact. That's kind of what I'm saying.
But to his defense, and this is where the NIL comes into play, right? In that, do you go out and get 50 new players that cost you $7 million, or do you go out and get better players and get 15 of them that cost you $7 million and get a better player?
A balance.
Right?
You spend a lot of money on your skill players. Like the formula for Coach Gundy has been get your 3-star players unless it's a quarterback, running back, or receiver. The quarterbacks, running backs, and receivers at Oklahoma State have always been elite. So you go spend all your money on your skill players, and then just divvy out the rest to everybody else. That's been the formula for Coach Gundy.
Yeah, and I think, speaking to that, I think that's where it doesn't match Coach Gundy's skill set. You want to talk about coaches putting kids in position to be successful, right? Just look at, we mentioned the Kendall Daniels name last week, right? And then you watch him just, flying all over the field against Michigan, right? And that steadily people were complaining about effort level last year. Is it a result of him being in a position where he can be successful, right? Mm-hmm. Look at it the same way with your coaching staff. Is Coach Gundy in a position where he can be successful, where his skill set matches the need for college football today, right? And that nobody questions that during the best years of Oklahoma State football, Coach Gundy's skill set was bringing in 2- and 3-star recruits and growing them and strength, conditioning, mentality, culture-wise, environment-wise, whatever the case is, that they produced and acted and they produced like a 4-star by the time that they were in their third year, right? That is his skill set, bringing in undervalued athletes and growing them and producing a product where people are talking about, man, this kid was only a 2-star coming out of high school, and look where he's at today.
But it's because they're surrounded by Tylen Wallace, Des Bryant. James Washington wasn't a big recruit, but I mean those guys. And Justin Blackman wasn't a huge recruit, but he's still. I mean, OU wanted him and that kind of thing. The key has been though to get the skilled players like a Mason Rudolph that are fairly highly ranked.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And that's the point I'm trying to get to. I think that's what I think that's what Coach Gundy is getting at, in that, do we have the money to go get those kids? I mean, if let's say, for example, that Justin Blackman was a high school recruit today, right? Would we have enough money to go get Justin Blackman and outbid OU for him, and still have enough money to divvy up amongst your quarterback? I mean, just look at the triplets, right? You need a quarterback, a running back, and one wide receiver that can blow the top off of it, right?
But Coach, you only have to buy a quarterback every 2 or 3 years. You don't have to buy the expensive quarterback every year, right? I mean, if Haas Haney's the guy, you don't have to buy another quarterback.
I don't agree with it. I don't think that's accurate.
Okay.
I don't think that's accurate. I mean, unless you're at Georgia or Alabama, but look at the Mateers of the world, and those guys, they're not staying around to graduate from the place that recruited them to begin with. You know, as that guy produces more, his value goes up.
Yeah, right.
You know, and you bring in a kid, you bring in a Haas Haney, and he doesn't get hurt, and he produces wildly. Everybody's gonna be coming after him.
Yeah,
right. You know, and there's supposed to be no tampering. Get the heck out of here. Right, there's been tampering ever since college football existed. Right, that value, as that production goes up from that quarterback, his value goes up, and he's going to look for the best play. So it's not.
So you're not going to be able to pay him 3-star money if he produces. You're going to have to pay him 5-star money.
Here's what I would say.
Yeah, right.
Here's what I would say: is if you're paying your quarterback the same amount of money in year 2 that you did year 1, he probably sucked.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Okay. If you're paying your quarterback the same amount of money in year 3 that you did year 1, you're probably not very good.
Yeah, right. Good point.
Okay? Because if he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, he's producing like you want him to produce, and we're successful as a program like we want to be successful, his value is going to go up, and you're going to have to pay more to keep him.
Yeah.
And I think that's where
it's almost like the coaching situation at OSU. That's the big argument for keeping Gundy, is if you go get a G.J. Kinney, he has 2 or 3 really good years. Well, then he's going to get offered by Alabama, and he's going to be a stepping stone. That's the problem you're going to have with the expensive players in the NIL.
Yeah, and what you're seeing from the athlete side of things is the same thing that you've always seen from the coaching side of things, right? And that we're going to have a short-term contract, and the better you do, we're going to renegotiate that, and we're going to pay you more. Right, that's the same way with the athletes now in the NIL. So anyway, I don't know that OSU's in a position where they can go out and have multiple guys in that position, right? Where if your first quarterback, we don't have a 1 and 1A, right? We've got a starting quarterback, and we got a number 2, and we got a number 3. Right. We don't, when you lose your starting quarterback on the budget that we have and the recruiting philosophy that we have, there's going to be a significant drop off when number 2 comes in.
Right.
And I think you saw that from the run game.
So the one way to fill that gap is to say, okay, well, we're running a zone scheme here, so we need a quarterback that can run zone read. So one way to fill that gap is to at least have 3 or 4 guys that can run the ball. Now, whether they can throw the ball, they can run the RPO type complicated scheme, I don't know. But at least you need to figure out what your style is going to be. If it's going to be a zone team, then go get 3 or 4 guys that are run heavy. Why is our backup quarterback a guy they can't run? That's the non-attention to detail that's frustrating me.
And he's been here this is his 3rd year.
So, I'm not trying to knock Zane Flores, but if this is the system you want to run, and you're telling me that you need to be able to have a quarterback that can run because they stack the box, and when they do, if our quarterback doesn't run, we can't run it. Why is he your backup quarterback?
Right, and why did Smith and Rangel leave if Flores can't run the football better than those guys?
Correct. Why did you prioritize him and let at least one of those 2 leave?
That's correct, and Flores has been here longer than both those 2.
Yes,
right. It's been an amount of time. Like, this is literally his 3rd year at OSU, and he still doesn't fit the scheme that we're running.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that's what makes no sense. Why don't you go to Garrett? Why don't you go to Zane and go, hey, you just don't fit what we're doing? Garrett and Milwaukee Smith both run the ball better. Go find the best opportunity for you. We'll help you any way you can, and keep one of the 2 guys that can run. And I'm not saying that Zane Flores won't be a good quarterback, just that It doesn't seem like he fits with the way Oklahoma State wants to run the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I being unfair there?
No, I completely agree. Yeah. And again, it's not unfair to Flores, like you said. I mean, bashing him by any means. He's been loyal to OSU, and he's exactly what OSU fans have asked for, is somebody that's going to stick it out and be loyal to the university, loyal to the program.
But then again, why is he still here 3 years later?
But in today's football, that's what you get.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
And when you have, it's kind of like, as a baseball coach, this coach that, especially when you get to the college level, they're always going to recruit over the top of everybody. They're going to go out and get the best baseball players that they can possibly get. Right. Mm-hmm. And nobody should be comfortable, right? Just because you played as a freshman and you were a shortstop doesn't mean that OSU is not going to recruit any more shortstops for 4 years. Same thing on the football side. And but other than Haas Haney, who did we recruit?
That's making an impact.
And they showed the Bowen kid that was warming up on the sideline, but I guess that's our number 3. But, it's just a very difficult time in college football, not just from the program standpoint, but from the fan standpoint, because what you want is what people want to complain about the NIL is because there's no loyalty and people just jump from university to university. But then you have a guy like Zane Flores that's been loyal and waited his turn, and this is his 3rd year here, and now everybody's bashing him because he doesn't fit the scheme that we're running. Right? Well, which one is it? Which one do you want? Right? Do you want kids to be loyal, or do you want to be recruited over the top of every single year to get the best athlete you possibly can? Because if you're only worried about loyalty, then go play in the FCS.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. That's where we're at. That's where we're at.
It's that simple. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying that's the way it should be.
It's the reality.
I'm saying that's the way it is.
Yes.
Right. If you're concerned, okay, because of your alma mater's song that says loyal and true, right? If that's your number 1 priority, that athletes should be loyal to the university and not jump from school to school, then don't be upset with the product that you have right now. Mm-hmm. Okay, because that's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to continue to get.
Totally agree.
Right. If you're somebody that says, I want to be loyal and true to the university, and I am as an alumni, but I want our football program to be successful, then loyalty can't be your number 1 priority, right? That you're going to have to live with the fact that you may have guys here for 1 or 2 years and they go somewhere else, or they've left somewhere else. Nobody complains about the kids that leave somewhere else and comes here. They only complain about the kids that were here and they left and go somewhere else.
The one that went to college, DJ McKinney, that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's a very different environment, very different feel in college athletics these days. And I think it's going to take fans longer to adjust to it than it is the kids and the coaches, right? And the kids and coaches are having to adjust to it mightily. And I just don't think fans understand. I think fans are going to have a hard time, especially OSU fans, going to have a hard time getting across or out of their mind that I'm going to have to get away from. We're recruiting this kid out of high school, and he's going to be here on senior day, right?
Which is why what Josh is doing in baseball. That's why we defend him feverishly. He has figured out a way to actually do that, and it's kept OSU relevant. It's not the exact results we've wanted, but it's kept OSU relevant.
Right. Rodney Fields. Here's an example. Rodney Fields. Will Rodney Fields be here on senior day?
Right.
So let me. If he is, I would say that we've figured out a way to pay him very well, or he hasn't lived up to expectation. Because Rodney Fields is a kind of kid in today's college athletics that he comes in probably undervalued, right?
Same with Josh Ford, yeah.
Yeah, we knew how good he was because we watched him in high school, right? But if he comes in and produces like he's supposed to, his value is going to go up and the price tag is going to go up. And can we afford to keep him?
Well, let me ask you this, Coach. What if Coach Gundy was right from the beginning? So Coach Gundy's approach to the NIL was, let me keep recruiting these 2-3 star players, let me develop them, and then let me keep all of my NIL money to retain the guys that I have trained in my system instead of going out and buying guys like he did last year. What if he actually had that right, that just Oklahoma State fans didn't give him time to execute that plan?
No, I think he screwed it up last year. I don't disagree with that plan. I don't disagree with that plan at all.
So spend all the money on the guys that you recruited, you brought, because the one thing that Oklahoma State will be able to do is recruit high school players. And that is because the Alabamas and the OUs aren't going to be recruiting high school players.
That's correct.
Because they're going to be paying for fourth-year, fifth-year seniors, the John Mateers. So there's going to be some damn good young high school players available to Oklahoma State that weren't available ever. So if you can get that player in your program and then use almost all your NIL money to keep those players, that might actually be the formula for OSU, and that was the formula that Coach Gundy was trying to put in place, but we got impatient maybe.
And I don't disagree with that, but last year didn't allow him the time to do it.
Right.
His reluctance to put another quarterback back there to take the snap. Okay.
Or a different offense.
He waited too long.
Yeah,
We've got offensive linemen that are crippled that are out there.
Right.
That were a fifth-year senior that had 7 surgeries or whatever.
Is there a chance he was right though with his philosophy that way?
No, I don't think that that's wrong.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of different ways to skin this cat, right?
Yeah.
And here's
we can't compete going out and buying a new roster every year.
Here's how I would answer that question. If we're approaching the NIL and today in our recruiting efforts the same way that the Alabamas and the Georgias are, then we're wrong.
Yeah.
Right. We have to have a different philosophy. We can't compete on that same level with the Blue Bloods that's got the money to go out and spend $40 million a year.
Which is what I'm saying. We can't afford to buy a new roster every year, but we can't afford to retain players.
Right.
Possibly.
Yeah. Well, I think you can afford to retain your triplets.
Yeah.
I think you can afford to retain a quarterback, a high level quarterback, a high level running back, and a high level receiver. Right?
Especially if they're going to give you the team discount, because I've already been here.
Yeah, and you can get the discounted players like your Josh Coopers of the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who was highly successful running under routes while Justin Blackman was streaking down the field, right? But what we can't have is 4 receivers on the field that are all running 10-yard routes. Right, because we don't have anybody to take the top off of it. Because nobody can be successful like that. You're under routes or you're over routes. So anyway, there's a lot of different ways to skin that cat. I just don't. I don't know that. I don't know. Going back to your question, I don't know how you defend Coach Gundy and the staff right now based on the product that was put on the field on Saturday, and it's not because that we thought we had a chance to win that game going in. It's because we're competing at a lower level against those teams than the FCS teams are. Yep. And that's that simple.
It is. Coach, appreciate it, man. This has been an interesting conversation. Hopefully they get a little bit more positive as the season goes on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we hope. I'll still be there.
Absolutely.
So I'll be sitting in the stands watching and rooting for the Pokes like I always do, but sure would like for it to be entertaining.
Yep. All right, go Pokes.
I'll go Pokes.